We've all been there. You're watching what should be a perfectly innocuous movie with your folks, and all of a sudden two characters are bumping uglies. Some floppy bits are exposed to open air, and you have to walk the fine line of looking like you're uninterested but also unbothered. Or maybe there's a joke about excessive drug and or alcohol use that hits a little too close to home and you have to stifle laughter while also feigning ignorance. Or worse, either of these two scenarios are playing out and your folks are suddenly way more into the movie than they were before. Headaches nobody wants, for sure. In a world full of so many movies, it's hard to know what's fine to watch with your ancestors and what will make you feel like you're not allowed to shift in your seat anymore without raising suspicions. So we've collected 5 flicks that are best watched without parental supervision. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to be counting down the top 5 horror movies you shouldn't watch with your parents. If you want some recommendations that may or may not be progenitor friendly, make sure you check out our top 5 weirdest horror movies playlist right here. Excellent, let's get started. Drilling its way in at number 5, we've got the Slumber Party Massacre. There are just so many reasons you'd want to avoid sitting down to watch this one with your folks. Like, does anybody really want to face the fact that teens will invariably act up as soon as their parents leave the house? Mom and dad leave on a nondescript business trip, so of course there's gonna be a party in their absence. Maui Wowie, little baggies, strawberry daiquiris, and more. Watch the first half of this and you'll get the inevitable, well, at least you never did any of that, right? And that's only some of what's gonna make things awkward. Plenty of tops being taken off in this one, so you'd better practice your nonchalant, looking around the room face. And of course, there's the massacre itself. The movie is really and truly about a man using a phallic symbol as a weapon. If you watch it with your parents, you have to reckon with this without ever explicitly bringing it up. The killer is literally drilling and screwing people to death. Get it? Without their permission, too. Not good. So many shots imply a shaft. So many involve violent penetration. Once you realize that's what they were going for, you will never watch it the same way again. Oh, and there's also this teenager who spends a few scenes reading Playgirl magazine, so if you've got any magazines hidden around the house, you'll have to reevaluate where you keep your stash. Not that people still have porno magazines, but still. A fun watch with friends, but do not settle in for a family movie night. Coming in at number 4, we've got Shivers. And speaking of phallic imagery, here is Penis Slugs, the movie. I'll open with a little anecdote. There is a video store near my place with an awesome collection of horror movies. I decided to pick some up to watch with my friends and thought it'd be fun to show them scanners. Heads exploding, psychic battles, the whole 9 yards. Well, I'm stupid and don't pay attention and picked up Shivers instead. Both Cronenberg, both excellent, but one is a lot more taboo and sexual than the other. I promised my friends exploding heads and got slimy sea cucumbers entering people's orifices. Uh-oh. The opening scene of this movie is what appears to be a violent sexual assault. Only after the most upsetting acts are said and done do you realize what's actually going on. As the movie progresses and the experimental sex monsters spread throughout the apartment complex, more and more depraved stuff starts happening. Essentially a movie about how taboo sex is, Cronenberg really foregrounds some stuff you don't want to discuss with your folks. Your lovers, definitely. Your shrink, probably. Your friends if they're cool, but not your parents. The finale is essentially a giant pool orgy. Senior citizens, children on leashes and all. It's not a movie where one scene will catch you off guard, it's throwing psychosexual stuff at you in every scene, and there's no escape. The doctor who created the parasite wanted the world to give up on their over-intellectual ways and give into primal impulses. It's an interesting concept for sure, but not too fun to consider when in the same room as the folks who gave into their primal impulses to make you. Coming in at number 3, we've got Mom and Dad. Watch this and you might feel like you can never trust them again, and they might realize that too. Movies like this could either be a riot for everyone or strain the family in ways you'd never imagine. Mom and Dad is a comedy horror starring Nicolas Cage where some mysterious static causes all the parents in a suburban neighborhood to lose their minds and become overwhelmed with the urge to kill their children. You can see how that might be awkward to watch with your parents. Throughout the flick, we're treated to images of all sorts of brutal murders, parents killing their kids, offspring are strangled, stabbed, and otherwise slaughtered, and in the case of our main characters, they are beaten, gassed, hit with pepper spray, and more. Even the grandparents get involved, adding a new layer to the insanity. The final scene of the movie, oh and by the way, spoilers, so take that as you will, has the two parents tied up, still reeling with their static-induced hysteria. They claim to love their kids, but sometimes they just want to kill them. Like, I get it. I definitely drove my folks crazy from time to time, but seeing that kind of bloodlust, I might not stay over on Thanksgiving. Coming in at number 2, we've got Ichi the Killer. A classic gateway drug into the world of horror movies, Ichi the Killer is one you should probably avoid watching with your parents at all costs. It is extravagant and excessive in every sense of the words. Like, the main character literally ejaculates onto the title of the movie in the first scene after watching a pimp beat a prostitute through the window. Ichi is constantly pursued by a sadomasochistic killer who wants to fight him to the death. A man is hung from the ceiling by rings and his skin and tongues are mutilated. There's more blood in this movie than most other offerings on the market. It's a depraved world we're investigating, and every passing moment offers more goopy grossness. It's a movie praised for its tendency to delve deep into the perverse, which can be really fun under the right circumstances. The psychological manipulation, horrifying crime, and general over-the-top approach to violence and sexuality are all spectacular in their own ways, but not with your parents. Nobody wants to sit across from their mom as you both watch a crying latex-clad assassin tear people apart and paint the walls with their blood. And it's not a good idea to take in a gangster movie where the biggest baddest dude is also desperately seeking someone to love him by hurting him with your dad. The relationship between pain and pleasure should not be explored with your family, in my opinion anyways. And finally at number 1, we've got Deep Murder. See, it's too bad you can't watch this with your parents because it is an absolute riot. The entire ensemble cast absolutely runs away with the show. Every single character is hilarious and the performances are the stuff of comedic legend. The kills are gruesome and playful, done up in beautiful practical effects, and the running jokes actually remain funny. The thing is, this is a movie all about porn. So by laughing at any of the jokes or understanding any of the references, you are admitting to your folks that you've consumed enough pornography to be in on it. And them laughing at the jokes has the same effect. Now you know what kind of stuff your folks are into. Worse yet, they could ask you to explain one of the raunchier jokes, leaving you between a rock and a hard place. I'll quickly run you through a laundry list of stuff you probably don't want to experience with mom and dad. A gigantic ice pick dildo plowing through the back of a woman's skull and out her mouth. Someone in a gimp suit self-flagellating while chasing a bespectacled nerd throughout the house. Lengthy references to the plot structure of popular styles of porno. Decades of home movies that keep devolving into over-the-top sexual overtures, and more. I don't want to give too much away because it really is a riot and you should watch it without knowing too much. But yeah, when a movie relies on tacit knowledge of how porn works, you might want to avoid sharing a bowl of popcorn with the people who birthed you. That's just asking for trouble. Hopefully I've saved you from some potentially embarrassing situations, and your parents too. By all means, watch these flicks on your own or with some pals, but my goodness, be careful when selecting your viewing party. So, what'd you think of the video? Does anyone have any stories of watching stuff you wish you hadn't of with your parents? What movie would be the absolute worst to catch with your folks? Have you watched any of these with people who couldn't handle it? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more iridescent ones from the top 5 newest SCP Creatures 2020 Part 2. Mini Kunoichi says, number 5 sounds like a legitimate anime plot. I'd watch it. Right? Like a super self-aware meta anime all about tropes and wish fulfillment. Could be a hit. Holly Clown says, I really do enjoy the positive SCP entries such as the first 2. What makes them better is that you can see how they could have gone in the opposite direction in a different universe. Ah, the duality of man. Such rich soil for storytelling. Michelle McLean says, for all of number 1, all I could think of is that little kid. Let me see what you have. A knife! No! Roll the clip.
Let me see what you have. A knife! No!
Yellow House says there is no NCP at all, smiley face. I mean, you're right. I've never even heard of anything called NCP. Thanks for keeping us updated, Yellow House. And JM Dromana says, who would win, Saitama or SCP monsters? It's actually a very interesting question. I think Saitama could take down any SCP with a physical form, no matter the size of their abilities. However, how is he supposed to punch phenomena? And what if a reality bender just changes the world in a way that removes his one-punch abilities? It's very much so up in the air in my opinion. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I eat a cursed pizza and wash it down with the blood of the innocent, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more parental popcorn. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.